Okay, we're going to go through and see how the principal diagnosis, the secondary diagnoses, whether they be a CC, a complication comorbidity, or an MCC, a major complication or comorbidity. And then also if a procedure can really play a part in the selection of the DRG code. So this patient, first we're going to look at a patient that just has simple pneumonia. You can see their DRG up here is 195. Simple pneumonia, there's no CC or MCC. And if I hover over here, I can see that the CMS weight is a 0.7. But let's say now our patient has acute renal failure. So they now developed acute renal failure while they were in house, and my acute renal failure, the acute renal failure is a CC. So you can see now this changed to DRG 194 from 195, and now my CMS weight is 0.9, and previously it was 0.7. So I'm going to be reimbursed more because of what that patient developed. So there's more resources to that complication comorbidity. Well, now my patient, they developed acute renal failure. So I stick in acute renal failure. Now I've got my MCC. I've got the highest DRG weight in the category for simple pneumonia. So my CMS weight went from a 0.7 to 0.9, and now I'm at a 1.4, and I have an MCC. Because in the DRGs, some of the DRGs, we call them 3 tiers. Some of them have 2. So in the simple pneumonia, there's a simple pneumonia without MCC or CC. There's a simple pneumonia DRG with CC and a simple pneumonia DRG with MCC. So we got to the highest level in that tree for simple pneumonia. Well, let's say my patient also had sepsis. So if I had my patient had sepsis, and now sepsis became the principal diagnosis because it was really the reason for visit after study. So if I put my sepsis as the principal diagnosis, now you can see my DRG changed from 193 to 871 now. And we can show here that it's still with the MCC because of my pneumonia and acute respiratory failure. What if my patient had a heart attack? And that's what they were being seen for. So I'm actually going to change my DRG to my principal diagnosis to acute myocardial infarction. So I changed it to that. You can see now I'm in the DRG 280 for acute myocardial infarction. They're discharged alive. Well, let's say during the visit they ended up having a CABG. So they had a coronary artery bypass. Let's just say with 2, with 1, no. So there's my bypass. You can see now my DRG changed once again because now it's taking into an account the procedure that the patient had done, which is the coronary artery bypass. So you kind of get a view here. Here is also my APR DRGs, which I can see the patient is in a severity of illness of 4 and a risk of mortality of 4. So severity of illness and risk of mortality are measured 1 to 4, with 1 being the lowest risk and 4 being the most severe risk. So they're at a 4 and a 4. So they have a high risk of dying during this hospitalization. I wanted to show you also is just a quick, and you guys will have this handout. It kind of gives a really nice flow of the impact of documentation. How documentation can really play a part in your reimbursement and the level of your DRG you get to, and your severity of illness and risk mortality that the patient can have. So here this patient just has acute systolic CHF. Nothing, they're at a 2 and a 1 here for severity of illness and risk mortality. And then here they develop mild or COPD with exacerbation. It can increase their DRG. Their SOI and ROM stayed the same. But here you can see as more severe documentation gets added, their risk mortality, severity of illness, and their DRG increases and goes high. So that is why the documentation is so important.